We're continuing on looking at moments in Jesus' life leading up to Easter. And we've kind of now come to the point of the Sermon on the Mount, which is a pretty famous discourse. It's the kind of one recorded sermon that we have of Jesus's in Scripture. And at the very beginning of it, Jesus gives us this list, known as the Beatitudes, these ways of good living. And he teaches them, and he leads off his sermon with this. And there's plenty that can be said about these. But truthfully, there have been plenty of pastors, theologians, various other people who have really broken apart each and every single one of these Beatitudes into excruciating detail. And I'm going to instead just kind of consolidate everything down to 1 week. But you can sit down and really spend a lot of time studying these. So there's some interesting things kind of to note here. Overall, one of the things that there's multiple theologians and biblical scholars like to point out to within Matthew's gospel specifically is there is a tendency to kind of try and draw parallels between Jesus and Moses. And not in a way in saying that Jesus is Moses or equivalent to Moses, but showing that, Moses brought the law, he led Israel out of Egypt, he did all these things, and Jesus is fulfilling a similar role to him, but even greater such. And so there have been some people who have attempted to compare the Ten Commandments to the Beatitudes. That's not really a very good comparison, I would say. I think it's going a little too far, reaching a little too much. But it is definitely true that Jesus is giving an idea here of how to live correctly. A lot of commentators have kind of stated that these lists that Jesus is giving, these principles are really kind of the ethic of the kingdom that is coming. It has an eschatological end times kind of look to it. That when Jesus' kingdom comes, this is how people are going to want to live. And if you are a part of that kingdom on earth right now, you should be exhibiting these qualities within your own life. It is also interesting to note that whereas the Ten Commandments has a lot about, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. Jesus' list is more, these are the actions you should do. This is what good living kind of looks like. This is what blessings are. But it even goes a little step further than that. A lot of Jesus' ministry has this element of flipping kind of the social structure of that time upside down and on its head. And so when you get comments like, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, these are two groups that you wouldn't necessarily think would be blessed for that status. Jesus in many ways is reaching out to individuals who are in extreme poverty and saying that there are better things to come for them. Now, to be clear, that does not mean that there's no help here on earth for that. The calling that Jesus gives to his followers is to help those individuals out, is to elevate them, is to make things better. But he does kind of indicate that even if your situation doesn't improve on earth in that sort of way, there are rewards for you in heaven later on. And going even further with this, blessed are those who are, persecuted, the persecution. That was a major part of the church, especially which Matthew was talking to. And it's definitely something that Jesus, I think, could easily see kind of coming down the line, knowing what he was going to go through as well as what his disciples would eventually have to go through as well. So the idea that, by participating in and being persecuted, you should really have kind of a hopeful and joyful sort of attitude to it because you're in now the same classification as Jesus himself and the prophets of the Old Testament. It's something to give hope in that sort of situation. So that's what I have for you all this week. I hope that you found that informative, that it will help you in your own lives. Now, I wish you all to stay well, stay safe this next upcoming week, and I will see you then. Now, I would like to invite you all to join me as we sing our last song this week.